What's going on, guys, and welcome back. So, life has finally calming down, and we're getting right back into it. I promise this time. I know I keep saying a couple videos a week, and then it's like one video per week. Well, unfortunately for you guys, I suck at math and I can't count. That's actually another lie. I actually really like math, but today we're going to talk about set championships, kind of a brief little how you prepare for it, how to do it, and go over the deck that I just took to mine this past weekend, and we got our Mirabelle promo. Unfortunately, we did not get a playmat, but we did get knocked out of Top Cut by the player who went and took first place. Shout out to Blake. Anyway, and shout out to everyone in group chat and everything, bouncing ideas off of each other. But we did our goal. A few more set championships. I'm going to try and get another card, and we'll do a giveaway on the channel for you guys if we can get another Mirabelle. I just want to get one of every set championship. That's my goal. And so far, we're doing pretty good. So today, we played Ruby Amethyst. And when you get ready for a set championship, what do you do? Like, how do you prepare for it? What do you do? And how do you get ready? And for me, I have not played set 5 whatsoever. I follow with the spreadsheet. I track the tops. I've been doing some videos. I've been trying to keep up with the format, but I have zero playing, zero testing in the format leading up to this past Sunday's event. So I was really happy that we were able to top. I took Ruby Amethyst because I felt like it was just a very good neutral call. It's very consistent, and it has such a good toolbox into pretty much everything. So first little bit of advice. When you're going to play, especially in a set championship, how big is your event? Is it a 20-person event? Is it a 50-person event? How well do you know your local scene? How often do you know which players show up, what decks they play, things like that? That'll help you play what deck you want. You should play a deck that you're comfortable with. I think that's huge, because if you play a deck that you don't know how to play it, you're going to be in trouble. Like, you need to know how to play your deck. This was also the first time playing Ruby Amethyst in real life. I played the deck a ton on Pixelborn when we had it, so I'm not saying that I don't know how to play the deck, but, you know, I have not actually played it in real life, so that was kind of a fun little experience too. Why Ruby Amethyst for me? I knew Steel Song and Popsicle were both like usually two really popular decks. Unfortunately, I think there's only like 3 Steel Songs, maybe not even that many. Yeah, 2 or 3 Steel Songs and only 2 Popsicle decks that ended up showing up. And Green Steel was actually much more popular, and I would have made some changes had I expected it to be as popular as it was. I thought a few people would be on it, but I didn't respect it enough, and that was actually the deck that knocked me out. I felt Ruby Amethyst, like the format, it was Steel Song's the deck, right? Steel Song's the deck to beat. And then Popsicle comes in, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, Popsicle's the deck to beat. And then we see Green Steel coming in, and we almost form this like triangle format again, right? Just like we have in the past. And I'm like, well, I don't have Rapunzel's for Steel Song, otherwise I probably would have played that. I didn't have the Tragic Heroes for Green Steel, and I didn't really want to play Discard again. I did that last format. So Popsicle, I'm like, I don't really have the time to learn the deck, like, in and out. Ruby Amethyst was a deck that I know pretty well, and it's a deck that I figured I could pick it up and do what I needed to do with it. Like, looking into the matchups, like Steel Song, we then little sheet, like looking at top decks. So, like, what cards are threats, right? Like in Steel Song, you have, are they playing Daisy? Are they not playing Daisy? Do they play the Queen package? Do they play the Robin Hood package? What about Pete? How do you answer Pete? The early aggro they can do. And what about Big Cindy? Like, these are a lot of their threat cards. And as far as answers go, we have Brawl, which is very good into the matchup. You have the 3-cost Sisu that would actually answer Daisy, but I don't think it necessarily warrants it on its own. Medusa can put in a lot of work in this matchup too. Like Maui or Fox plus Crab is a way to answer Big Cindy, in addition to things like Be Prepared, getting rid of their board, and using like Tremaine or something like a Bee King also works really well. And then what's the game plan? Well, for Steel Song, I had 3 different game plans. Do they play the Queen? Do they not play the Queen? How aggressive do they play? So once you kind of know how they play, you kind of get a little bit of a strategy. So this is kind of step 2. Step 1 is, what decks do you expect to play against? Step 2, how do you play against those decks? Popsicle, threats being like the Hiram, the Tamatoa, the Dime, Sisu. Unfortunately, we can't really answer Lucky Dime. Things like Hiram, the Brawl, and Sisu actually work out really nice. Maui plus Crab, you know, is a good way to take care of a Tamatoa in one swing. Obviously, again, your Be Prepareds. Again, we don't have a great way for Dime, but you have ways to like one-shot the Tamatoa. And this is a deck where you want to get a bit more aggressive, which is why we ended up putting the Flynn's back in. Initially, I was not going to play Flynn. I'm not huge on Flynn this format, but I thought Popsicle was going to be more popular. Again, looking back, I very well maybe regret playing the Flynn. It was glued to my hand, and honestly, I felt like it didn't win me any games. It usually served as a body on board, and it forces your opponent to answer, though, so that's kind of nice. Mirror match. What is the threat in the mirror match? Card advantage. You have to try to outmanage and out-resource your opponent. You have to try to gain that upper leg, force them to react to you. Like, especially if you're on the draw, it's hard because you have to, play second. So you're answering their cards. I did have a mirror match, and the winner got into top 8, and we were able to win it. It was a really, really fun chess match. Game 2, he ended up having 2 Chernobygs and a Broom. Turn 1, I think it was Broom. Turn 2 is double Chernobog. And that draw 3 on turn 3 hurt so bad. We were able to kind of claw back in thanks to singing some friends. But at the end of the day, we were chasing him the entire time, and he got to the better cards first. Otherwise, versus like Tempo, I think the deck just has a good matchup into Tempo personally. I don't fear that matchup whatsoever. Similar to the mirror match, I think it's a lot about advantage. And then into Green Steel, I think as long as you can get to like 6-7 ink, you're doing really well. I did play a Green Steel in Swiss, and we handled it pretty well. Unfortunately, we lost the one in Top Cut, but games 1 and 3, because I was the 5 seed, they were the 4. In games 1 and 3, I got to 5 ink, and then I just started drawing all uninkable cards. There's like Medusa, Rabbit, I think, and then Rabbit into another uninkable card. And against the discard deck, that's pretty much a death sentence. Like, the deck stalled out before I got to that sweet spot of being able to drop those, because had I been able to play them Medusas, if I got to 6, I think I would have won, because at least then I can clear his board with her effect, and then the 4/4 just being able to challenge and take out his board. But we stalled out on 5, so it was just unfortunate, but that's how it goes. And his deck played how he built it. It played how it's supposed to. So I'm really not mad. I think I only had 1 misplay in Top Cut. But overall, really happy. So 1 drops. Now let's get to the deck profile. Again, and I guess we didn't really talk about how to choose a deck, right? I chose the deck because it's so just neutrally good. Not really a bad matchup, but not necessarily free matchups either across the board. But into like any random deck, I feel like Ruby Amethyst always has a good chance. And just into the top decks, I feel like you have a chance versus every single top deck, period. But how would you pick it? If your locals is filled with Steel Song, Popsicle's probably a really good deck. We mentioned that triangle. If it's full of Popsicle, Green Steel. If it's full of Green Steel, then I think Steel Song actually has a decent Green Steel matchup. Otherwise, if it's a real random mix like mine can be, I think Ruby Amethyst is the call. Tempo can be a really good deck too. I don't want to say it's not. But me personally, I like Ruby Amethyst. I guess maybe if it was tilted more into like Green Steel Popsicle, maybe I would go Tempo. I think Tempo struggles a lot into Steel Song though, and just into this longer format, longer type games, I liked Ruby Amethyst more, but I think Tempo is a solid option. So to put Flynn in, I had to make concessions elsewhere, and I cut 1 drop, and I was like, which one do I want to cut? I felt like the 2 attack was better, so we kept the Chernobog. I know in the past I've talked about how much I like Broom more than Chernobog, but that was last format, not this format. So we went 3 Brooms, 4 Chernobogs. I almost played, instead of the Flynn's, I almost ran Yen Sids just to kind of, I wanted a body on 2 more than anything, but I went with aggro over the potential draw. Getting out 2 Brooms is just way too niche. I wasn't going to use that as a reason to play Yen, but the draw, if you have the Broom on 1, felt like a good enough reason, but we ended up going with Flynn instead. 4 Snakes felt, pretty much mandatory, and then only 3 Flynn's. Like I said, I'm not huge on Flynn. I don't think Flynn's mandatory by any means this format, and if Popsicle's rampant, yes, play Flynn. If it's not, I think it's very meh into Green Steel and Steel Song. It does force an answer, which is nice, but their deck just like naturally plays it. It's not like they have to play different to out it. It's I don't know. It's a card that it just felt very very lackluster in theory, and in playing it once again felt very lackluster. Had we had more testing, I probably would have not played Flynn. For 3, we play the Foxes, obviously. 3 Sisus. Not really going for that whole Flynn Sisu Castle wallop combo, the aggro plan. She felt really good. Again, I was expecting more Popsicle and Steel Song with Daisies, so we actually teched in the 1 Sisu instead. And I went with her at 1 and then the 4 Brawls because it felt like then I have 5 answers to Hiram. I have 5 answers to Daisy. I have 5 answers to anything else in that like aggro category. So it felt really nice. Unfortunately, the way the day went, she wasn't that good and was probably the worst card in the deck. Between her and Flynn, the only cards I would take out of the deck, probably just turn Sisu into a Dragon Sisu. This card is just so good, especially in the mirror match. Like her attack, because the mirror match is so much about advantage, that her attack is just so strong a lot of the time, and it just makes things really awkward because she takes out such big threats, and actually being able to like one-shot a castle relatively easily was really nice. 2 crabs then, rounding out our 3 costs characters. I don't really think you need more than 2. 2 felt pretty fine for the most part, so I think that is more than enough. Moving on then, let's go ahead and get our 3s out of the way. You'll never guess which cards we played on 4. I've mentioned it a couple times. I was at 59. We cut 1 drop, and then we cut 1 goat for those 3 Flynns. If I took the Flynns out, I don't know. I did goat for game still a few times, but like goat's a card you don't necessarily want or need to see it early. It's usually ink if you see it too early. So like, I don't know. Cutting a goat was fine for me. I've, in Blurple and past formats, I've played goat at 0 even. I don't think it's mandatory in every Amethyst deck. I do think in Ruby Amethyst it's still incredibly strong. But Rabbit's mandatory 4 of. Goat, I think 3 is the minimum right now, at least in this format, but I don't know. I don't think 4 is mandatory. I don't know if I'd go back to 4 if I took the Flynns out, but possibly. I'm really unsure on that. Another ratio that I've been seeing differently with tracking tops is I've seen a lot of people not playing 4 Maui and playing 4 Elsa instead. Me personally, I felt Maui's the stronger card. I think the 6 attack is just better. Her being able to exert something, don't get me wrong, is incredibly strong, and that's her best feature. But, I mean, the evasive is nice too, like answers Diablo, especially with green steel popping up again. So if you know your locals is filled with green steel, maybe play 4 of her, because even if their Diablo is not exerted, you can play it, exert it, and take it out, unless it's at a cove. But Maui I think Maui's too good not to play at 5, personally. Mirror match, he's insane. The one, I think is game 3, but we both went through 3 Mauis. It was like Maui, 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 and I had 3 castles, and he had 3 Mauis. My last castle ended up surviving and closing it out, but I also had Mauis to answer his Mauis, which kind of felt bad because he had a Flynn on board too, and I only had the castle, so I'm forced to answer it. He's getting the 3 off the Flynns. We almost lost, but at the same time, I knew I would answer the Flynns as soon as he ran out of Mauis, and that did happen. Pete is such a game changer, and Green Steel having Pete and Ursula, I wanted more character and less action or song removal. So we went with the 3 Medusa, 1 Tremaine. Another thing I may say is with the 3 cost Sisu, my uninkable counts at 14. I don't want to go higher. If this is a deck where I always said like 11 to 16, but 14 felt really good, and in hand testing the night before, it was really nice. But in play, like I said, my losses were usually stalling out at 5, which was unfortunate. Like I felt like I was mulliganing pretty good too, usually putting back uninkable cards, even putting rabbits back, especially if I had friends on the other side as draw potentially. But then like keeping the 1 or 2 pieces I wanted, and sometimes if I was like, depending what I was putting back, I didn't want to put back like 5 inkable cards because odds are I'm going to see some uninkable cards. So I would actually keep like 1 as just ink fodder, like stuff like that. But I'd probably play a second Tremaine instead of that Sisu. Whether I play another one of the big Sisu or the Dragon Sisu, I still think I would. But in the uninkable spot, I think a second Tremaine and playing 5 might be good. I know I'm talking about stalling out at 5 and then playing another high cost uninkable card, but Tremaine is just really good. Or maybe just going 2-2 with the Medusas and Tremaines. I like being able to choose, but Tremaine was insane every time I saw her today. So maybe I'd go 2-2 with them moving forward. Again, expecting a lot of Popsicle. I did not think Big Sisu was the call. Once again, hindsight's 2020. If you're expecting more green steel, I think Big Sisu's really, really good. Like there's times where if you just drop her, you just win the game because it clears so much of their game. But Elsa felt really good. I liked her. Every time I saw her, I won. I shouldn't say saw her. Every time I played her, I won because I saw her in some of my losses. But she felt really good. Like, not only can you shift her, you usually don't, but you can. And then when you bounce her, you get them both back, and then you play the rush, and then you get her the next turn. It just felt dirty. But just freezing their board. Like, the theory with her was, again, expecting more Popsicle. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that in the video. Was like Tamatoa or Big Sisu even. Your Big Sisu does nothing to them, right? But you play Elsa, and you can exert them, and they're frozen. Now they can't quest. So you can potentially swing with like Maui or something into them too and take them out. Medusa can take out a Sisu even. So that was the idea between playing the Elsa instead of the Big Sisu. I don't think either one's a bad call, and I think it's completely dependent on your local or your event that you're going to. But I liked the Sisu or the Elsa a lot more than Sisu given what my local scene is typically like. Then into our actions, we played 4 Brawls. Again, it's another card I've seen getting played at less than 4 sometimes. I just think it's too good to not play it. I do apologize for the camera going in and out of focus. I think it's the not very good lighting in my bedroom that I have since moved to for recording. But anyway, 4 friends. Card's just mandatory. Card draw, consistency. Obviously you're going to want that as good as you can. And 4 B preps. It's another card I've seen played at 3. Personally, I just think that it was too strong, too good to not play it at 4. Leaving us with 6 cards left. You can probably guess which 6 they are. Maybe not quite the order, but I've seen this go either way. I went 2 library and 4 castles. I don't regret that at all. At least the 4 castles. Library was a weird card today. It was probably the 3rd worst card in the deck. I don't think it's bad, and it offers a lot of really nice plays. Like, you can get big pluses off your own Be Prepared then, being able to draw. Your Broom or Chernabog there, all of a sudden now they're drawing 4-2. But that's a turn 4 play, and it felt very slow. I think the more popular green steel is I think this card's bad in the green steel matchup. Like, just bad. I think it's really good into Popsicle. I think it's pretty solid into Steel Song. But green steel, I think this card's just bad. Would I cut it? Probably not. I want to play more, go to some more events with the deck before I make that decision. However, this weekend I'm bringing my son to a smaller set championship. He's 7 and he has a blast playing, but he gets a little nervous around a lot of people. So we're going to go to a smaller one, and we might just play a fun deck. I'm thinking possibly doing Ruby Steel. We'll see what we end up playing, though, at the end of the day. And I will definitely let you guys know. Maybe we'll, I don't know. Last format we took Sapphire Emerald. Yeah, Sapphire Emerald there. And got our Ursula. So we'll see what we do. But yeah, moving forward, I think Ruby Amethyst still one of the best decks. Absolutely. Really fun. I'm glad I played it. I don't regret any of it. And we're going to see how the rest of set championships go. I'm going to try and get you guys a prize card to do a giveaway on the channel. Let me know down below what you guys think. What are your techs? What are your choices? And until next time, take care. Oh, also, lots of other big news planned within the next week or so. I got to get some stuff ready. But yeah, I'm actually excited to announce the news. Thank you guys for watching. Like, share, subscribe, comment down below. Take care.